What is the true purpose behind the chaos that everyone seems to be seeing happening around the world?
Chaos is an old energy reflection of the way to settle it. But be aware that settling it is what you're asking about. Countries that have been enemies for decades and decades, holding hands, coming together, looking you in the eye and saying, we got to stop this. So we are now in an energy that we've never been before because we're off that track. So even ancients were on that track, and we are not anywhere near anything that's ever been before.
We also have fear that we create. We're very good at creating fear for ourselves, and that's when we project into the unknown.
Is there a timeline shift happening, and what determines which path we experience?
They will do things you've never seen before.
I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champions, Lee Carroll and Monika Muranyo. How you doing, guys?
We are great. I've never been called a champion.
I know, but I like it.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you've been on the show a few times, and it's always a joy talking to you guys and talking to Chiron, obviously, and a lot of the stuff that he was saying a few years ago, and I say he for lack of a better word, but it's starting to come true in many ways.
Yeah, funny how that is. And by the way, you can call Brian a he.
Right.
There is no gender on the other side of the veil, and yet we genderize everything because we're human. So
right. Yeah. So yeah, if it's he or she,
I channel it.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same connection.
No.
So, and Chiron, Cryon. Yeah. It's Cryon. And if I say Chiron, please forgive me, because I come from the old world of television where Chirons would be coming up on the screen. Those were the local, and just the Chirons always in my head. So please forgive me if I say it accidentally.
I come from the same place you do.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
So if all is forgiven.
Okay, appreciate it. Remind me, Cryon. Remind me who Cryon is. Is it it's a collective or is it an individual?
It's hard to describe, except what would you say an angel was? That's how it feels.
Okay.
This entity, unlike some other channelers, has never been a human. It's not a group of a certain kind. It's always felt like angelic energy to me. Mm-hmm. But you pegged it. It's always a group, because angelic energy is a group, even though we tend to make it singular, put skin and wings on it and give it a name. That's what we do. But and true divine angelic energy always has a group feel to it. You get many hugs.
All right. Fantastic. So my first question to you is, what is the most important thing humanity is not seeing clearly right now?
Humanity is not seeing clearly that we have passed a marker that is incredibly important to us. We're looking right now at what Cryon also predicted about this year, 2026, the number of attributes, but mainly it's not seeing the fact that we are actually coming out of the dark. Mm-hmm. And it's not something we made up. It's not something that's new age. Even the ancients gave a timing. I mean, it's all part of what the Mayans talked about in their calendar. It's there for us to see. It's a 36-year period. It's been very well documented that there was going to be trouble in the year 2000s. I mean, even the church said so. And we have come to the actual end of that, and now we're starting to climb out of it. And this is very much what Cryon talked about when he came in 1989. So we're looking at something that is actually very positive and very exciting. And most of the, that we talk to, just regular folks, think, what's going on to the planet? We've got another war. Here we go again. Is it going to be nuclear? Is it going to whatever? And not really seeing truly what's happening. Let me just give you, there are many attributes of this year that Cryon started talking about actually in December, and then started talking about this energy we're in is, it's a cliche to say we're in newer energy, is an energy we have never experienced before. Now that's profound. We're at a place we've never experienced before. One of the things that crime speaks about that look forward to is the closure of things that have always simply hung out and not been closed. It's time to have a final dealing with things that are not settled. And then in February, we got the war. And if you take a look at what it is about, that's what it's about. It's very, very clear. People are finding this too in their own lives. They're starting to see closure on things that haven't been closed before, opening to new beginnings that haven't been there before. There's just a whole series of things that this energy is bringing forward. And people are very consumed, I would think, of the negative. If I had anything to say to your listeners, I'll say it yet again. I've said it on every single broadcast. Stop watching the news. Mm-hmm. Get it written. Go find it, because a written news is going to be from a journalist. I can guarantee it. And it's not, and when you see it on TV, it's that's entertainment, and that's how they're selected. By the way, they got to sound right, look right, and act right. But when you get a journalist, who cares what they look like? That's their profession. You're going to get a better news from a journalist.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, what is the biggest illusion people are living under today?
To me, it's the same one. That we're going to hell in a handbasket.
And it's not true.
No, it is not true. And yet, if you watch the news, it is true. I mean, most of the media has an agenda, and it's such a basic agenda that you'll laugh. They want you to buy stuff. I mean, there is no conspiracy here to grab you, and put you in a box and control you as much as it is to buy things. And that is what it is. It's always that way. And you can see it in that's our culture, folks. Mm-hmm. So you can watch it on the media as well. They will, first of all, they bias themselves to one way or the other so that a certain group will watch them more. And then they give you the news in such a way that you want to continue tuning in, because you're always on the edge of your seat, and there's always bad stuff to hear, and it is on and on. That, unfortunately, has been the paradigm since I got here of what the news is, has been, mm-hmm. But it's gotten a lot worse in these last few years.
What kind of inner work is no longer an optional for the next phase of humanity? Because a lot of times we keep pushing things away, and like, oh, later I'll get to it. What's not optional anymore?
I think it's building on all the questions you were asking previously about what's up for humanity, what doesn't serve us anymore, what's the illusions. A lot of that is the illusion that we're here as victims, and that there is, so think of the programming that comes from media with programming fear. And the reason you do that is because you then want to offer a solution. And we get addicted to tuning in. What's the latest thing that I have to be aware of or pay attention to and fear? And that's always an opportunity to step into your power of how you can overcome fear. And I feel that what's not going to work anymore is trying to feed the program of fear. Because when you become self-realized, you are aware that we're not here by accident. We're here on purpose, and that we are not victims. We are powerful co-creators. When you have that awareness of that's who you are, any fear story that comes to you, or anyone that's trying to tell you, no, you're victims, you're powerless, you can't control what's happening around you, it's not going to work. And the ones that kind of are showing us, the way showers that are emerging are the indigos. If you've never heard of the term indigo, Lee and his wife at the time, Jan Tober, released a book in 1999 called The Indigo Children. And they were simply those coming to the planet with a different consciousness. They had a different wiring, if you like, and they were here as system busters because they could look around and see dysfunction and they would react to that, and they don't want to be part of a system that's dysfunctional. So they want to break down those paradigms of dysfunction and create from that place where kindness matters, compassion, tolerance, integrity, balance, and wisdom. So I think the place of where we're going is the ability to see, recognize, and discern wisdom. And that's what is really coming out of this shift. All the history that keeps repeating itself, it's like a cycle where you didn't realize war does nothing but cause suffering and pain and loss on both sides. Mm. And it's not the solution for moving forward. And when Lee said there's a new energy on the planet that's never been here before, it's about having solutions to things that were never solvable before. And there was a really fantastic channel from Cryon given maybe a few months ago called The Fog of War. Even that title, doesn't that just dispel the fog of war? And we're really moving to that place where that fog is lifting and we're seeing it for what it is and not anymore. We can't have generations coming in that will have the story, okay, these are my enemies, these are the people I have to hate, and we're just going to perpetuate that cycle. It's dysfunctional. And wisdom sees dysfunction in that and says, no, there's another model, another paradigm. And we're really in that transitional stage. What's interesting is when I was talking to a friend of mine who's a world-class astrologer, and we were talking about how the planets are moving into places they have never been before that she's seen in all of her career of looking at them. And this year of 2025 is where they're kind of settling into this new shift. And that next year, we're really going to see the changes of all these settling in a much more positive, benevolent way. So all I can say is hold on, stay the course, stay fast, because we're in this period where the dust is settling, we're cleaning out house, we're renovating, we're getting ready for the launching pad of the new to come.
Now, when you said 2025, you meant 2026, right?
I meant 2025 was that year of all that pivotal change, and 2026 is where it's settling into all the changes that happened in 2025. And Cryon even says 25 marked the end of the battle of dark and light. And these next 5 years, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, they're the last 5 years of the shift. But you're coming out of it in those 5 years. So 26 is the first of 5.
Got you. And then when you said that, Lee, when you were saying that there's no, that this has never happened before, and Cryon, you see, Cryon said that. He was also saying in regards to, I mean, obviously there's Atlantis and the ideas of Atlantis. This is beyond not just this cycle of human evolution, but all of humanity on this planet. It's never been like this before?
No, it never has been. And that includes any civilization that's ever been here. Even some of the ancient ones that had a higher kind of what we say consciousness. No, this is completely new. And I will give you the metaphor. I don't think I did it before, but it's a good one. And it's one that you can look at and go, yeah, that's right. If you look at human consciousness, what Cryon has said is that it never, ever changed. And so what we had was what we call human nature. If you ask a sociologist, human nature is just, it's a staple. It never changes. Well, it does. And it can. We just never have seen it change because we've always been in the same old energy, like a railroad track, and we're the train in a circle. and we never got out of the circle. So we keep running over the same old energy, the same problems and the same issues. And that creates war after war after war after war. We just have war and we take breaks. And then we have another war and we take a break and we have another war, including the last two we had where we just took a break and it was the same players at it again. I mean, it's just so obvious how this has worked for us, no matter how enlightened or whatever the, inventions we have, right into the nuclear age. We're ready to do it again. All of these things, that's what people are afraid of. Imagine that in the process of that, something has happened, and it has. The cosmology really has told us about it from the ancients. A siding appears. A siding. So if you're a railroad nut, you know that when you have a siding, you have a switch, and then you go off to the side, and your train then goes to another track. This is what has happened. And this was always the opportunity. There is a wonderful prophecy on that from the Hopi Indians. It's called the Hopi Prophecy Rock, and you go there, and it actually shows the siding. It is, it's one that says, that's their cosmology, which is very much like the ones in Peru, the Mayan, that talks about this time in history, the 2000s, and the issues that may happen, and the choices we would have to make. And it actually shows the siding. That's what we are on. So we are now in an energy that we've never been before because we're off that track. So even ancients were on that track, and we are not anywhere near anything that's ever been before. One of the things that people are reacting to is that when we go into an area we've never been, there's always apprehension. And there's apprehension from even the best minds saying, we don't know really what we're going to do and where we're going because it hasn't been really prophesied, or the prophecies we had haven't happened. And if any of you follow some of the older channels, that said certain things would happen, and that's on the old track. And they probably would had we stayed on the old track, but we're not there. So now we're in a new area where really it seems that there's uncertainty coming. But from my standpoint and what we say, there is another metaphor. And Krein has said the snowball is rolling down the hill. Now, what that means is that the snowball has an attribute. If we see a snowball rolling down the hill and it's gathering speed and size, and here it comes, you know some things right there. You know that there's gravity, it's big, it's rolling in that direction, and there's a tree down there, and it's probably going to hit it. Now, are you a prophet if you say the tree is going to be hit by the snowball, or are you just logical? You can see it. This is what we're talking about. We are on this track in this new energy, and Krein says that's our snowball, and it's going to lead to things you don't expect. And he's called them. He says, watch for new alliances between countries that never have allied. That's actually in process now. And that's what Krein was talking about in 2025. He says there are things happening geopolitically you didn't expect. They are. And it's not who is right or wrong here, or whether you like one party or the other. It's just matter of fact. Take a look at what's going on the planet right now, on the things that were predicted or not predicted, and you will find the snowball. I'll name the snowball the high enlightened peace on earth. And we're headed in that direction because we're going to get to a place. Well, there's more to tell here. We're going to get to a place also we didn't expect, where our culture starts to change. I'll just label it now. In 1999, and Monica brought it up, I wrote a book for Hay House called The Indigo Children. It was a best-selling book they had of the year, and there were a million people that reacted to that. They said, "Yeah, I've got kids like that." And what Krein was showing was a new kind of child was being born at that time that seemed like a troublemaker, but a generation later, they will do things you've never seen before. And one of them is happening right now, Alex. And that is, you have young people doing podcasts to millions of other young people on esoteric things. Things that most young people in my day could never have cared less about. They don't want anything to do with it. They are, they've got lives, they've got fun, they got parties, they got places to go, they got music and whatever. And you're not going to have anybody, say, look, I'd like you all to gather around and I'd like to tell you about past lives. Get away. Today, literally by the millions, this is happening, and it's indigos. That's just one of the things, but it's right on target. If you start taking a look at a generation, which is often 30 years, 25 years from the birth, 1999 is when the information came out. They're here, and they're just at the right age, and you're starting to see them going into Congress, going into corporate, going into education, going into medicine, and starting to make the same kind of waves they did when they were little, and for the same reasons. And this is I would say the reason they're here, the reason you're here, the reason so many are here that are doing. Now that's unexpected. That's part of this new energy that Krein says we've never seen anything like that. That is a change in human nature, my friend. And that is what we're looking at.
That's fascinating. Well, I think you were saying that I'm a young person, so I appreciate that very much.
Alex, you are. When you look at how old I am, you are a young person. You represent a generation, and you're talking to both sides, but you definitely are an indigo person. Even if you're an older indigo. You are.
Well, I am a troublemaker. That's for damn sure. I've been since I was born in the 70s. I've been nothing but a troublemaker.
Yep. Since I was born in the 40s, you can see what's going on there.
I understand now why you're calling me it, but I do. It's not often I'm called that. My kids always call me the old man, so I appreciate that.
Of course. What do they know?
Monika, let me ask you something. Do you? There's a lot of fear going on right now. About a lot of things, about the unknown and all this thing. But my take has always been that we have guardrails put on us. That's there are points that will not be crossed, because in any logical sense, we should have destroyed ourselves 100 times already with the kind of weapons that we have. But yet we haven't. Even with insane people in political offices around the world, and in craziness and dictators and all of this. And it hasn't happened. Would you agree with that? Do you have any other insight into this guardrail system that we have? I believe, at least. I
love sharing what I glean from Crayon's wisdom. And Crayon gave many channels on fear, because it is something that we deal with. And there's different faces of fear. There's fear that is for survival. Mm-hmm. So if you are crossing a street and a car is coming and you're about to be hit, you get that fear so that you're compelled to do action for your survival. That's very real fear. We have those kind of fears for survival. We also have fear that we create. Mm-hmm. We're very good at creating fear for ourselves, and that's when we project into the unknown, into the future, and we spin on the what if scenarios, and we take a look at the evidence that's around us, and we want to project what that's going to be in the future, and it creates fear. So they're fears that you create. And the way that Krein says we can move through that is to bias ourselves with positive expectation. You can pave a way with your consciousness of creating a benevolent path in front of you. And part of that is knowing that, like you said, there's a barrier, the guardrails. What represents those guardrails? The inner eternal soul that you have that's always connected to the angelic realm, where you can't have fear. It doesn't exist, where you have a pure stream of a consciousness that is flooded with love, compassion, benevolence. You cannot coexist with fear. and that place at the same time. But the easiest way for us to be in that place is the state of gratitude. Mm-hmm. So when you start affirming the things you're grateful for, when you have that real deep gratification for the things that are going well, you can't have fear at the same time as being grateful. Then there's another type of fear that Cryon has explained that comes from past life experiences. Mm-hmm. And you can have residues of that because these are multi-dimensional energies and experiences. What is it that we know about multidimensionality? In a multidimensional state, time does not exist. Time is limited to the 3D world: height, length, width, breadth, and time. When you have no time, that is multidimensional. So that's why you can have a past life expression where you might have drowned, you might have burnt on fire. So you carry that residual of that very dramatic event into your current life, and it's a residual of fear. And these are things that many therapists out there have been able to assist others in releasing them, clearing them, working with the Akashic records, doing past life regression, or having such an experience of touching the essence of your soul that it instantly dissolves those kinds of traumatic experiences. There's many different ways of how to move through and release those experiences. And one of the other residues we carry as a global family is the doom bias. Mm-hmm. Because we've had history repeat itself. So my grandparents, they were born in Hungary. They went through World War I and World War II, and you carry that residual. Well, there's going to be a World War III, isn't there? Because we've already gone through I and II, and then we see these situations seemingly happen again as the trigger of what happened last time. Of course, we're going to have a doom bias to expect the worst. Think about your own life. If you've had something go wrong, you're kind of hesitant to try it again. Don't want to go through that pain, that experience, that it won't work. So releasing that doom bias, I can't emphasize that enough, because Cryon has said we are on that snowball of peace, as Lee mentioned, but the timing of it is up to us. So the more we say, I don't know, I'm not sure, all these signs, it doesn't look good, that delays the snowball of peace. The more of us can be empowered and be in that connection where we have crossed that threshold.
Hey guys, I really hope you're enjoying this conversation. And the one thing I've noticed recently is that most of you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel. It's free and it really helps us out a lot. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, and share this content so we can continue to help elevate the consciousness of the planet. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the conversation.
Of the Battle of Dark and Light and Armageddon. We've crossed it. There are so many signs that point to that. So it is about claiming it, stating it, affirming it, and visualizing it and projecting it onto not just the global family of humanity, but for your own personal life. This is the year where everything turns around. One of the other things in the energy we've never seen on the planet before is that your consciousness, when you start pushing positive expectation, in an older energy, you were always faced against a pushback of pushing you back. You're a troublemaker, sit in the corner. In the past, you may have even been killed for your enlightenment. This is the year where that changes. And your consciousness is matched by an energy that is here to support it, no more pushback. So this is where Cryan has been telling all of us, say yes to things you might have said no to. Go to a place where someone invites you and you would always say, no, I'm not going there. That's not for me. Go and see, because perhaps there's someone you need to meet there that takes you to another direction. In other words, you have to get out of your comfort zone, your comfort bubble of where you're used to operating and working and manifesting as a light worker, to move into other areas that are not necessarily what you would have chosen or comfortable, and say yes and see what happens.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Now, we keep speaking about this Cryan guy. Is there a way to bring him in to ask him a few questions?
Sure. But before we do that,
please.
I would like to just back up a little bit and tell you that according to Nancy Tappy, who was the one who identified the indigo children, there were indigo children in the 60s. So I think you are one, and you could be a precursor to the ones that we're talking about. But there's no question, even as I look at you, I am so familiar with the indigo child, and I say attributes that make no mistake in that. Then the next one is, I love to talk about things that we don't have answers to because they're fun to talk about. Mm-hmm. And you just ask one. You want to know, is it possible there are guardrails? Now, I know there are, because Cryan has talked about it. This was about, I would say, 10 years ago or so. There was some conference that Elon Musk was at before he was Mr. Tesla and all SpaceX and all that, where they talked about esoteric things and asked him, with all the attributes does it appear we're in a simulation?
Yeah.
And he said yes. Mm-hmm. And so you start looking at that. I asked Cryan, are we in a simulation? And Cryan says, you're definitely in a test of consciousness. Then I said, are there controls? And Cryan says, do you mean, are there limits that change? And I said, yes. And he said, yes. He said, whatever you do with free choice then snaps other things into place. And for instance, the availability for certain kinds of inventions. Have you ever noticed that Earth gets inventions all at once? We only beat the Wright brothers only beat the French by 2 weeks. They were all thinking the same things. The Wright brothers just did it first. Mm-hmm. And it was all meant Marconi with radio was so simultaneously with others that they still argue who got there first. So here are things that are given to the Earth seemingly all at once. That's like a control. That's like something's going on that perhaps appears as though we are being given things at a certain time. So yes, and I agree with you. I think there are guardrails. Mm-hmm. I think that history will show it. When things are revealed someday that we don't know about now, how close we got to pushing a button, we'll get stories that are hair-raising, if they aren't there already. And we'll go, how one thing different that day, and we would have been in war. Nice. And you're going to see a number of those. I believe there are guardrails. And because of the snowball, once we show a change is starting to happen on the planet in a certain way, I think those things are moved around a little bit to help us. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you were there during the Cuban Missile Crisis. You were around. You saw that. That was terrifying. I wasn't alive yet, but I saw what was going on from historical videos and films. And that's the closest we ever got that we know of. There's many other stories that have come out after the Cold War and stuff that is just hair-raising.
There have been regarding a real life encounter that mimics the Red October.
Yep.
And they may have even got there. And so there's at least one of those as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I was there in the crisis, and it was exactly as you said. Everybody, we're a hairbreadth away.
we were hours away. I mean, it was insane how close we got.
That's right.
Something intervened and pulled us back from the brink. But that's the closest publicly, at least, that we've ever seen.
It's often, we learn later, behind the scenes, things we don't expect. That later we find out why, and we go, well, we weren't told that. And you're right. No, we weren't.
I'm sure there's a little bit of that happening now.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you were gonna ask if we can do some channeling. Is that right?
Yeah, if we could, yeah. Let's bring Cryon.
Of course we can.
absolutely. And there's many here that are used to Cryon. I love that you every now and then say Chiron. Chiron's the wounded healer, and I love Chiron's energy as well.
Actually, an asteroid.
It's an asteroid, but it's also in astrocartography. You have your Chiron line, which is the wounded healer, and healing, which is also beautiful. How I remember it, Alex, is many times when people are experiencing Cryon's energy live in person, you are filled and flooded with this love wash. You can't help but cry. So we always call it a cry on event because you cry on and on. So maybe you'll remember it that way.
Now I have it.
Cry on.
Yeah, there you go.
A cry on event. And Cryon is here of magnetic service because the reason Cryon's here is for this shift in human consciousness. I've written maybe 4 books on subject-driven titles, and I get to ask Cryon questions. And one of them was, Cryon, have you been on other planets? Because we are in a galaxy where there's been planets going through this shift, and some have made it, some have not. And those who make it have ascended planet consciousness. And Cryon says, of course I was on other planets. So I'm just premising that Cryon is here with a specific mission in helping all of humanity to be self-empowered, to move through this shift of consciousness. We are evolving. It's beautiful. You're magnificent. And we're on that trajectory. We're on that path of graduate ascension status.
Right? Why do I take off my glasses when I channel?
Well, Cryon sometimes goes like that and flips off the glasses, knocks microphones, kicks candles off at the seminar. So that's why we don't put candles in front of Cryon anymore.
So is Cryon part Italian because he uses his hands a lot? Is that the way?
I hope so. I love it.
We do too.
Yeah.
So Cryon is always with us and with Lee.
How would you like to do this, my friend? Shall we just go into channel and let you ask?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and we could ask him questions. If he has anything he wants to say at the beginning and at the end, I'll give him space to do that. If he has a message for the audience that's listening right now. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Cryon of Magnetic Service. What a treat to talk to those who know themselves well enough to watch this particular program. And what I mean by that is mostly old souls will be tuning in. The ones who are curious, not only about themselves, but of the energy that the planet is going through right now that is so different. It is so different. I am angelic, you might say. That is to say, when I came to my partner, he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Cryon." And they said, "Well, who was Cryon?" And I said, "Cryon." It's a group. It's from the other side of the veil. It's you might say, a love grouping, a compassionate grouping. I arrived in 1989, and the shift began in 1994. I am here to help you through that shift, and I continue to help you through the shift. And that is the precession of the equinox, the cosmology that the ancients have told you would happen, and it did. Now you are coming out of that. There is so much love for you. I want you to know something before anyone asks any question. God knows your name. If you want to use the term God, the creator of this universe, knows your name. And that's because within your soul, there is a piece of that creator. Almost every system on this planet that calls itself spiritual has a writing that will tell you that. God inside. I want you to know that, because that is what starts to emerge in the consciousness of humanity on this new track.
Thank you for that, Brian. First question is, what is humanity most afraid of to face about itself right now in this moment?
The fear that the humanity has right now, or perhaps what it does not want to face, is the inevitable of what might happen. Perhaps if you don't awaken. In other words, the doom bias is there, and it's so much there that is one of the biggest things that humanity will have to get through. I want to give you an example. If you start counting the number of movies or episodal or anything you want to look at that's even current or past in the last 25 years, hundreds and hundreds deal with the aftermath after a nuclear attack. Mm-hmm. Now that is a bias, and you continue that because it's a theme. I think humanity is afraid to face that because they believe that it might happen. It's a popular theme because it's been drummed into you from the old energy that I've talked about before. The other thing that is difficult to face, believe it or not, is a change in humanity that is so startling that almost all of the infrastructure that you're used to that's consciousness will change. You're on the edge of it with AI. Now, some will say, well, what is it that AI is going to do? And I will tell you a number of things. First of all, you'll get used to it. You'll get through the fad of it. You'll get used to talking to it. And then you'll realize it does not have consciousness. It has data. Now, that's still happening. It's probably going to take a number of years before it gets old and is no longer something that you're enamored with. And then it starts to work. Let me tell you about AI. It's going to solve some of the biggest diseases of this planet. AI will probably be responsible for curing cancer because it can look at all the research that's ever been done in an instant. It can pull together things that have never been pulled together. When you apply it to base 12, it'll take you to the stars. This is the reason for AI now on the planet, dear ones. Did you wonder if this was on purpose, that you would have AI at this time? And the answer is exactly. It's right where it belongs. Humanity doesn't want to face that either because it thinks that AI will take over. And why is that? And that is because your movie said so. We're now back to the bias of the films actually trying to shape a future that has nothing to do with any of those films. I will tell you this. If I was going to write the next Terminator film, I would have the Terminator turn into a higher consciousness and get rid of all the other apparatus on the planet that would hold you back. Because that truly is the prophecy. The AI, the thinking machine, would take you to places you haven't been before and be your friend and not your enemy.
Beautifully said. Now, is there a timeline shift happening, and what determines which path we experience as individual and as a consciousness?
I'm glad you asked that as an individual and as a major consciousness. It has to start with individuality waking up on the planet, and has. My partner mentioned the indigo effect right now of the young people actually being interested in the esoteric things. Now, this is a major consciousness shift on the planet. Mm-hmm. For ages, there has been a social norm that tells you what you're interested in, at what age you get interested in, and what you do about it. Many books have been written. The psychology is well known. That has all started to shift. So that is one of the biggest things that you're going to see. So individually, you're starting to awaken. What happens next is the individuals, they start to have what I'll call a coherence with one another. Now, if you studied coherence, you'll realize that you don't have to be in the same room. You don't even have to be in the same country. You can have coherence in the field. Something that has been defined as the consciousness of all. Some have actually defined it years ago as the great unconscious or the collective unconscious. It's the field. When you start realizing that consciousness is energy, which is now proven, you realize that that energy literally has a substance to it, you might say, that is on the planet. This allows for things like remote viewing to happen because it's accurate. It is true. Picking up other things that are happening through the field. So what I'm telling you is that as the individuals start to have a higher consciousness and awaken, you click into a coherence with many. That starts to affect other individuals, and they start asking questions. Awakening is the process of looking at life, yourself, creation, what you've been told spiritually, and making up your own mind. Asking the questions, is this real? Is it not real? Is there something more? Is there not? And the coherence of that has created what is happening today in so many individuals. That then becomes a collective. And that collective of coherence, of consciousness, then becomes the mass awakening, eventually. One heart at a time, my friend, is the way it works. But I will tell you right now that there are literally millions who are working this puzzle together and are starting to awaken to a larger truth. The truth that does not have God as a punishing father, but God as a creator who loves every single soul on this planet equally. And the job of every human being is to then apply that to all lives and all countries. And it is normal. It will appear to be something you want to do. You want to emulate the compassion of God. That emulation is going to start with the children who are now young adults. Soon, you're going to see something. And I want you to look for this because it's already in the works. It's already in the field. I see it very clearly. You will see those in their 30s and 40s on both sides of not only the aisle, which means political, but also you'll see it in countries that have been enemies for decades and decades, holding hands, coming together, looking you in the eye and saying, we got to stop this. Because the truth is this, there's too many of us to risk it. We've got to work on fresh water for everyone, food for everyone, power for everyone, education for everyone. And that's what we're here for. And it'll shock you because the alliances are wrong. They shouldn't be together, holding hands and looking at you this way. You've always seen them as at war. That's coming. And when it does, I want you to remember this moment because it's already in the field. It's starting to happen. It should happen. And then should happen because the energy here is promoting it. There is not the old energy pushback that there was even last year or the year before. That's what's happening on the planet.
Well, then, Cryan, tell me, what is the true purpose behind the chaos that everyone seems to be seeing happening around the world?
It's the culmination of many things, but mostly because this is the year that I said you're going to look at settling things that have never been settled. There is an energy that says, we have got to finish this. There's an energy that says, enough. And the old energy then says the solution is always war. So you see that first because you're not there yet. You don't have that collective consciousness that is going to be. It will occur. But you'll notice when this war broke out was right away. Soon as February came and you'd settled into 2026, it was there. In a way, it never was there before You might ask, why now? What's the reasoning? If you ask the politicians what happened then, they'll just say, well, it was time. They felt it too. They felt it too. So this is what's going on. The chaos is an old energy reflection of the way to settle it. But be aware that settling it is what you're asking about. And that is what I predicted as well. The things have simply not been settled or been in a way that is always hanging, you might say. It never got tied up. It never got then put to bed. It never got a solution. This is the year where these things start all over the planet. I'll say it again. Watch for new alliances with countries that are now going to settle other things that have been not settled for years, or things that haven't worked well, alliances that you've always just counted on that didn't really work well, systems that you thought were forever. Not really. They really didn't work well. And they'll start to change them. This is the beginning of that.
What is one belief that humans must let go of in order to evolve?
You must let go of the fact that you have been taught for centuries that God is a punishing God, that you have natural, born dirty attributes. It's the greatest lie that has ever been given to humanity about a wonderful, compassionate God, that you were born unworthy, when the truth is you are born magnificent. You're born beautiful. And you have every opportunity in life to teach your children that very thing. And every opportunity in life to go from there, to find out what that really means, to be a compassionate soul. It'll change your life. That is, if I may tell you now, the secret to life extension. Joy. That is also part of, I would say, the laughter, the inner child, all of those things that we have taught about. But back to your question and the answer. You must understand, you were born magnificent.
If someone feels lost right now, what is the first step they can step back to clarity that can do?
There are so many lost souls right now. I say that in a way that you would understand. Your soul is never lost. But a lost soul to some of you are those who are in despair. I will tell you something you don't expect. Energy is real. It is not something that simply dissipates into the air. So you create your own energy. For instance, have you ever tried to deal with a depressed person, telling them about better things or giving them something that you know they like? And they will say, get away from me. I want to dig my hole a little deeper. Does that make any sense? And the answer is it does not. But energy is that way. So energy begats energy that is the same. And that's both positive and negative. Almost everybody who is in despair right now, lost souls, are experiencing something I will call cascading negativity. One thing leads to another, which is also bad, which leads to another, which is also negative. And so you think, everything I try does not work. Nothing I have ever done is good enough. Look at where I am now. Now I'm feeling bad. There's probably a disease. And I will tell you right now that all of those things are probably true, because that's what you created. Do you dare, old soul, drop into your heart for a moment and ask the question, am I creating my own whole? Is it possible that I'm creating all that is wrong in my life? If I am, dear Spirit, show me that I am loved. Now, I'm going to reveal something to you now that's an aspect, an attribute of the Creator. You all come in with guides. There's literally angelic energy all around you. And they just sit there and watch you do what you do. A human with free choice means that very thing. The minute you start reaching out to spirit, not in a pleading way, not in a God, dear, help me, but in a God, please show me who I am, what is next, and give me that which is the peace and the compassion to go through what I need to awaken and get out of this horror I'm in. Energy begats energy. I want every one of you who is sad right now or despondent right now, or even those of you who are perhaps not, to do a simple 30-second exercise. It's easy, and I guarantee it'll change your perspective on life. When you get up in the morning, I want you to swing your legs around and let them hit the floor. Stay grounded. And for 30 seconds, I want you to think of all the things you're grateful for. It could be as simple as nature or an animal you're with, or perhaps a partner who loves you, or someone across the ocean who loves you. I know who's listening here. Or the fact that you're not going hungry. There are so many things to be grateful for. All of you have this. 30 seconds. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Thank you, Creative Source, for this. I am grateful for this. And you can start listing them. 30 seconds. And I'll tell you why this is important. It's hard to get into fear when you start with gratitude. It's hard to go down that rabbit hole of depression when you start with gratitude. And when you do that for 30 seconds, I want you to feel the angels getting just a little closer to you. I want you to hear them, if you wish to, just figuratively saying, oh my God, she's interested. Oh my God, he's interested. Let's look at what are they going to do next? Are they really awakening? Are they really asking this? Yes. There's an entourage waiting to take your hand when you do these things. Energy begots energy. Whatever you put out will come back.
Brian, what does a truly awakened human look like in today's world?
What kind of a human is that to you?
An enlightened one, a conscious one.
It looks like light. Just like light. When we look upon this planet, we see love for every single human being. The ones who have a higher consciousness that have discovered that every single day they're taken care of. Every single day they have answers. Every single day they can have healings. And there's purpose and reason. They're like beacons of light. 25 years ago, there weren't that many. Not really. Today, if you could see what I see, there's lighthouses all over this planet, more than ever before, who have awakened to a greater truth. Not a doctrine, dear ones, not a religion. It's you with a personal awakening to who you are. What if it was true? You really had God inside. What kind of a difference would that make in a 3D world that you have to walk around in? You walk in a toxic world and it doesn't touch you. That's what it's like. You walk where somebody can yell at you and call you names and it doesn't affect you. It doesn't press your buttons because you have mastery. Mastery doesn't react. Mastery observes. And you walk forward without feeling a thing. Let them feel what they wish. What I will show them is love. That's what it looks like. It looks like light. And there's a lot of it here, my friend.
For those watching right now who are living in fear about the future, what advice or words of wisdom do you have for them?
Almost everything that you're afraid of has been given to you to be afraid of. Almost everything you fear has been on a plate handed to you. If you're in my partner's culture, that would be America. If you watch television late at night, you're being told you're sick. Commercial after commercial after commercial. You're sick, you need this, you need this. You realize that? You watch the news, you're being told you're on the brink of war all the time. You're going to run out of oil. You're not going to be able to do this and that. And it's all the time. Did you ever tune into a news channel who started with good news? And the answer is no. Does that mean there isn't any? No, it means that they have chosen to hand you bad news on a plate. Once you see that, you'll see that the fear you have is something that has been designed. You, my friend, are designed for joy, for wisdom, for light. Once you start understanding the dynamics of why you feel the way you do, you start relaxing a bit. You start not watching those things that you know are designed to frighten you. Then it gets even better. Now you're in control of your life. The snowball is rolling down the hill of peace on earth. You have a chance to slow it down or speed it up, depending on how you feel about yourself, who you are, what you might be able to do, just individually, for yourself. Did you know that when you vibrate higher in consciousness, that there are certain diseases that cannot attach themselves to you? Now, you think that's esoteric? It isn't. You're going to find there's science behind that, because diseases are living things. They also have a living vibration. So do you. If your cells are vibrating higher than the disease, it can't touch you. Did you ever think of that? These are the things that will be discovered, even in medicine. They'll scratch their heads wanting to know why certain groups of people never catch a certain thing. Then they'll start looking at their belief system. Oh, there is more here than meets the eye. There is hope here. There is love here. Grab onto it, and you'll know what I mean.
And finally, Cryon, is there any final words you would like to give to the audience?
That is what I want to tell the audience. Born magnificent, every one of you. Don't buy into the lie that you came here by accident, or that perhaps you have a creator who doesn't like you, who's looking at you, who will send you to hell and torture you forever. Does that sound like the love of God? Is that even reasonable? Start using what I would call spiritual logic and apply it to how you feel. Is there a creator? Some of you will say, well, I don't have any evidence of it. Oh, you haven't given it a chance. Let the evidence be in you. Try these things, perhaps. Go ahead, ask. Dear Spirit, are you real? Show me. Do you have the courage to do something like that and not then decide in advance to do that? Most people who hear this, that's what they do. Okay, I'll give it a shot, knowing perhaps in their brain it won't work. And so what do? They do it knowing it won't work. And then when it doesn't, they say, see, it didn't work. They set up their own result before they ever begin the problem. Instead, if you would open your heart and say, I'm here, I'm really here. If you love me, show me. Oh boy. Spirit cannot resist a human being's heart that is pure, that asks that. And sometimes, dear ones, you have to go at the end of your string and go right down to the depths of the dark night of the soul before you will ever do that. And then when you do, it all changes. You don't have to go there. Not anymore. You can do it right where you sit. It's worth asking, isn't it? Find the God inside. And so it is.
Thank you. Wow, that was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Lee, you jump in and out real quick. Real quick.
I'll tell you the story because it was years and years ago now. I was in my shower where Cryon talks to me, and I heard very clearly, are you ready to go to the next level? And it's such a human reaction. I thought to myself, dang, I thought I was at the highest level.
That spiritual ego. It was like, aren't I already there?
Yeah. And so I said, sure. I didn't really mean it, but I said, sure. And I really wanted to know what that was. And Krein said, you're playing church with me. Mm. You sit down, people sit down in front of you, and you have something, you do something, you say something, and then everybody goes, and it's no church anymore. And there's no crying anymore. Mm. And so I want you to do 24/7. I want you to be me all the time. Mm. Then when you bring me in, all you're doing is turning a page of a book, and I'm there, or closing the book. So it's just opening and closing something that's already there. So you don't have to huff and puff or turn around or make funny noises to be a channel. And that is not that there are those who do that you shouldn't listen to. I'm just saying, this is me. This is me.
Sure.
So this is what I experienced, and that's what you're seeing. It took a long time, folks.
Yeah. I would call Lee the reluctant channel. Yeah. I mean, there are those who are dedicated to becoming a channel and to mastering the channeling technique. That was not Lee.
Relax. That's what I tell anybody who wants to channel. Yeah. That's what Marilyn Harper says too, who teaches channeling. Relax.
Yes.
Don't get like, I'm going to do it. Because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've talked to a couple of channels in my day. So I've seen every flavor, every style. Sure. And you pop in and out very, very quickly and very it's just a very flawless almost transition.
And Alex, it took Lee about 4 years to make that bridge with Krein. You have to remember from back then, 37 years ago or more, there was a lot of trance channel. So there was complete takeover of the body. And
like Seth.
Yeah.
Yes, Seth was a good example.
And Lee said, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly what's happening. And Krein said, it's going to take you longer to have that meld. That's why Lee remembers everything Krein says. He's present. He's 100%
that's the other
present.
Difference. Yeah.
And that's the difference we see with
Seth
other
was such
channels.
A wonderful channel. I love the information of Seth. And is it the book Seth Speaks? I forget what. I love it. But in an older energy, you almost had to go there and do that in order to give that information. Not now.
Well, yeah, I think now channels are, I mean, obviously it's still not mainstream, but it's a lot more mainstream than it was when you started, for sure.
A lot more.
Yes.
Totally. There are so many channels. I mean, I live in a beautiful time I never thought I'd see, where there's so many who can just flip that switch and have so much powerful information.
And the older energy you're talking about, the Edgar Caseys, the Seths, they had to almost do that in order for anyone to even kind of almost take them seriously or not.
Right. Yeah. They almost had to be showmen.
Well, yeah, a little Barnum and Bailey kind of vibe to it back in the day, where now the newer channels I've spoken to, I've spoken to channels who are in their 20s. Yeah. And they come in and out, not as quick as you, obviously, but there's just different. Now, sure, there are some that do a little bit more action and their voices change and all that, but that's just different people doing different things. Like if I cook eggs and you cook eggs, it's going to be very different. And
we have this Wednesday night show, and we're doing it now for 5 years. We're a lot of them.
6 years. Yeah.
6 years. And every Wednesday night for 6 years. And we have numbers of young channels on that show. And I watch them very closely. And many times it's just a matter of being quiet for a moment or two. Then it comes in. So it's getting easier, and I'm watching it. That must be
amazing. Must be amazing for you. So where can people find out more about you, Krein, and all the amazing work you're doing?
We still want to send people to CreinMasters.com, and that is where all of our online work is. And then also you can see there some other things we do. If you want to go to see where our live things are, and that's a whole different part of Krein, that's Kryon.com. So there's really two places and two things that you're looking at. Our online work and our courses on KreinMasters.com, our live things are on cryan.com.
Sounds good. And I'll leave it to both of you. Do you either of you have, or both of you have final messages for the audience in this insane moment of transition?
I cannot top what Cryan said.
Okay.
This is what I say. You're born magnificent. Don't you think you're here by accident? What do you have to say?
Mine is so grateful to have your energy part of this conversation with Alex. Mm-hmm. And my request is kindness. Mm. Sometimes people might watch the program. They may not always agree with everything we say, or someone is speaking too long. The other person's not speaking enough. And the comments that you write can have a big impact. So make them have kindness as the energy that's behind it.
Alex knows exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, you mean there's negative comments on the internet? What?
There are people that hover that are looking for bad things to say to make you feel bad because it empowers them somehow.
Well, and
we know that.
And we all welcome different opinions.
Of course.
And through all of it, just am I using kindness in my words?
I've read.
They're my final parting words.
Yeah, just try to be kind.
Think kindness. Kindness matters.
Yeah. Listen, I've read comments that are like they disagree, but they're kind about it, and that's okay. You don't have to agree. It might not float your boat. You might not vibrate with it. That's fine. But there's no need to be nasty about it. I disagree with a lot of things happening in the world, but I don't go around attacking everybody. I don't hang out on other people's channels and go, you know what? That's not the way Cryan would say it. That's not the way Monika and Lee would have said it.
I'll tell you the truth. I've had criticisms in kindness that I actually read the whole thing and agreed. I said, I never thought of that. They're right.
Yeah,
I would
agreed.
Be much more apt to look at it in a serious way if it were postured in a kind way.
Absolutely. Well, Monika, I do appreciate you saying that. That does mean a lot to me, and I think anybody who's ever been on the internet.
But even responding to someone's negative comments, I kind of laugh because we have to even be kind when people are being unkind, and it's that same thing of. It's easy to love people when they're lovable.
Yeah.
That's easy, but our challenge of mastery is
our mastery challenge.
Loving people when they're unlovable. So, that's why kindness is so simple.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Guys, it has always been such a pleasure having you here. I look forward to our next conversation. Hopefully, we'll get you in the studio soon, sometime before the big giant transition happens. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you again so much for everything you're doing to help awaken.
Thank you.
Delight and a pleasure always to be with you, Alex.